Welcome to Divine Downloads. I'm your host, Cassandra, and this is the show where we help you divinely design your life. And today's expert could not be more perfect for that. Patricia Lohan is a Feng Shui and manifesting expert, and she is going to break down for us today how we can rearrange our home and our office for prosperity and abundance.
So, Patricia, I am so excited to have you on the podcast. When I don't know, someone reached out and your email came across my desk. Usually, I don't take any people that kind of come in that I don't know. But I was like, oh my God, I have never found someone that does feng shui and manifesting for business and money and abundance. And I'm just like, I can't wait to hear about it. I know my audience is excited to hear about it. How did you get into this? How did you decide that you want to do feng shui and then in this specific way?
I'm so delighted to be here, and I just love the name of your podcast. I think that it is just so perfect for what we do. And to be honest, feng shui was like a divine download. Like, in all truth, it found me. I got my first books about feng shui when I was 15. We moved house a lot of times, and for some reason, one house we moved into, and I was like, I'm gonna feng shui this place. And my family were looking at me like, what is she talking about? I had my bed in a special place and I was doing all this stuff, and they were like, oh, just leave her off, it's Patricia being strange. And that was kind of like the start for me. I was really hooked in. My soul knew that this was my destiny, this is my dharma. I completely surrendered to it, and knowing that it has transformed my lives and thousands of women as lives since I've embraced it, because I've just been so passionate about it. So, as a 15-year-old, I could only do my own little bedroom. And I actually got my parents to hire a feng shui consultant to come and work on their business. Like, when the internet went like beep 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 beep, like you had to like dial in, I found someone in Ireland who did this stuff. And I was just knew for some reason innately that our home mirrors us, and if stuff is not going on well in our lives, like we can if we change the energy of our homes, things will start to flow better. And so, like, fast forward, I don't know how many years, like I literally was in my 20s. I had quit everything, moved to India, became a yoga teacher, and was like into all things like spirituality and manifesting. I had a year of a big, massive spiritual awakening in India, and I came back and was like, okay, now I'm a natural intuitive and healer and doing all these amazing things. And I was working with clients and building my business, teaching yoga and doing all these practices. And I found a new apartment. I moved in, and I was like, I walked over the threshold of the apartment and I said to my then flatmate, I'm not leaving here until I'm moving in with my husband. And she rolled around laughing at me. She was like, yeah, right, whatever, laughing. Like, I could see her whole body like laughing, like literally. And I was like, I'm deadly serious. And it was at that time I went, hey, I can do some feng shui. So, like, I ended up moving into my sister's apartment. So my sister had lived there for 9 years, and she had been single for the 9 years. So, like, the track record for relationships in that apartment was horrific, like completely horrendous. It was really bad. But I was like, I'm going to do the things that I know. So I set up my bedroom. I covered some mirrors. I did a few little subtle things around my apartment. And like, very soon afterwards, I met my now husband, Ken. I didn't move out until I met my husband. And then I moved in with him. We both had done feng shui to do for love. He had done some feng shui, been into it in his 20s. Like, this is like total kismet, destiny stuff. And when I moved in with Ken, and I'm just remembering this story now because I'm putting it in my business book for feng shui, but I was like, when I met Ken, I moved in with him, and I moved out to the countryside. So my practice was in the city, and I moved my location of my practice with my clients. I did loads of things. I moved in, and like, my income just dropped pretty significantly. And Ken and I were in a new relationship, like new-ish, so he wasn't telling me that, like, oh my God, like, I'm actually like haven't been paid for 6 months by the company I'm working for. So I'm like in a pretty abysmal financial state. So
Oh
I
my
wasn't,
God.
and I was putting it down to my moving and everything. But then it kind of turned a corner. But when after a few months of me moving, living with Ken, I was like, do you know what? I really want to feng shui this place. Like, I really want to do this and I want to train in it. And he was like, I'd love to too. So we both went off and did our training and feng shuied our house. Like, I didn't even really want, to be honest, wasn't interested in doing it for clients. I was like, just want this for our house. And I've had this fascination for my entire life pretty much. And so did he. So we're like, came back, did our feng shui, but during the course, when we were analyzing our house, the feng shui master was like, did you have financial difficulties last year? And I was like when I moved in, my bank account like definitely took a hit, but I was just like, it's because I've moved and changed everything. So I kind of just put it all to that. And I was like, oh, it's fine. But Ken nearly went bankrupt.
Oh my
And
God.
they said, oh, it probably all got sorted by March. And he got all the money in March. And we were like sitting, like shivers up our spine. I nearly fell off the chair. I was like, what? So our house had gone into a thing called a money lock, into a negative financial scenario. And basically it's just like not a happy thing that happens to your bank account for a whole year. And it can happen in all different permutations. And for that, the minute that happened, we got that like, we were like, okay, there's something to this. So we went back, we did our feng shui, what I now do with my clients all the time. And within a couple of months, we had a 6-figure windfall. So this is like from nothing to like a 6-figure windfall to being featured on the TV, on all the national papers all over Ireland for my other business. Like, so it was just like, what just happened? And like, we didn't do any different work. Only thing that changed was the feng shui. And that, like, my life became visibly different to my friends and to my clients. And they were like, what have you done? So for me, like, I was working as a holistic practitioner with clients, and I started as just a natural intuitive. And now with my feng shui knowledge, I'd be like, tell me about your bedroom. What's going on? Because they were like having relationship issues, or I mean, this, I'd be like, tell me what's going on this part. And then finally they were like, just come to my house or can you, so that's how it unfolded. Like, I just started working with their homes. And now my whole foundations, it starts at home. Your home is a mirror of you, and it's like an unconsciously creating what's happening in your life. So when we start changing the energy of your home, it starts changing everything for you. And your home starts, and like, this is, there's some podcasts, I won't say this, but I know the name, Divine Downloads. I'm like, essentially what we're doing when we're feng shuiing a home is that we are tapping it into universal source energy, into flow, into the Tao. And when your home is energetically balanced and aligned, just like that line, so it's like that yin and yang, that thin line, when it is in that flow, everything else starts to flow. So all the manifesting that you've done, and that's why I integrate manifesting and dreaming big and big vision picture with my clients, because like literally everything that I had been pondering and hoping for and wishing for and doing with my manifesting started to be realized once I started doing the feng shui on a major scale.
That's amazing. I feel like, I don't know feng shui, but I've had certain moments like that in my life where I just got a hit, like move the desk, right? Or clean out that. And I remember when I was writing my first book, I was finishing, was on my last kind of like, chapter or so, and it was like the final stride. And I was feeling so stuck, and I had felt stuck for like a few days, and I was up late. And so it must have been like, I don't know if it was like midnight or it was up there, but I was like, no, like I write my best at night when things are quiet. So I was just pushing on, and I just kept on hearing like, move the desk, move the desk. So in the middle of the night, I moved my desk. I was still living in an apartment at that time. And I moved it all the way from like where it was kind of in my like living room-ish area to bedroom, which I know is not necessarily great, but for that moment, I set up this whole like altar shrine in my bedroom with like all these candles. I didn't have an extra office room at the time in my apartment. And as soon as I set it up in this area where I just felt called to put it, it was like the rest of the book just flew out of me that night. I like didn't even go to bed, and I was just done by like 5 a.m.
I've had shivers in my whole body. Like I have shivers in my whole body. I'm like, yeah, this is so true. And yeah, it's just so powerful.
So for someone that's just coming to this, are there any kind of like basic like do's and don'ts when it comes to if you walk into a client's home, or if you're like start working with a client, you're like, okay, here's like some pretty obvious things you can clean up right off the get-go?
Yeah. First of all, like just on like, you know, like Feng Shui is like a 5,000-year-old practice. So it's a very ancient practice. And when we start looking for like little do's and don'ts, for me, the main thing is like building a positive relationship energetically with your home. So like starting even like rewinding back to the first time that you found your place, like to like, what was it smooth? Was it not smooth? Like, is there some kind of like resistance to like really loving on your space? Like it may not be, you're like just how you're saying right now, like about your old house, you're like, we didn't have the spare room, and we didn't have enough spare room for my spare space for my office. I was in an apartment. Like it may, like you may be living in the place that's like not your forever home, and you know that, and you might have some resistance or some kind of energetic thing around that. And the first thing I would say is just like fall in love right now and just be like, thank you so much for this space I have right now, because it's like this genuine acceptance. I'm here for a reason. I'm in this exact place to support me right now. Even if it's not my forever, and even if I'm pissed off because I'm here 5 years longer than I thought I was going to be, just be okay with it. And that's the very first thing I would say. Because you can, if you have that kind of energetic resistance, there's a little part of like, well, what's the point in feng shuiing it? Like, what's the point in doing anything? And it's like, no. The point is that you balance the place you're in right now, even if it's a rental and it's not your bought home. It's like you nourish where you are right now, and that will then set you up for your next space. I've seen this time and time again that you just drop that and you're like, how can I just love on this place more? And just be like, thank you for being a shelter. Thank you for being a support. And if there's anything negative that's happened, like do some, clearing, some releasing, journaling, and just like burn it and just be like, I'm creating a new fresh slate with this space. Like I'm going to start to be like tending to it. Especially if a place has been one of those like, it's not my forever home. You can get into a place where you just like take it for granted and you're not kind of tending to it. So number one, that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is like start outside, like start like when you're coming into the place. So do's and don'ts is like feng shui is about flow. It's about energy flowing. It's about ease and flow and joy and that center point line, like that, in that center line. So when you're getting to your place, is it easy to find? Is it easy to get the door open? Does the doorbell work? Are the light switch working? Like these little like niggly things that oftentimes we don't see because we're just walking past it every day. So all the weeds at the front of the door that you like don't see, or all of the, the broken welcome sign, the doorbell not working, the cobwebs everywhere. Like for your home, especially the front entrance, is like the mouth of your home. So it's like where the chi comes in, and you want to get it in and you want it to be welcoming. So there's a two-way thing with this, because it's like it's your conscious and your unconscious. So when you're walking in towards your house and it's nice and clean and it's nice and welcoming and you're pretty welcome mat, your spirits rise. Like, so this is like, it's like, it makes you feel better. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so happy to be home. It's like when we open our door here and our little dog runs out to us and he's just like, I'm so happy to see you. Like, it's just like your spirits rise. So you want to start to think about that. What if, as I can move in, can I do to make my spirits rise? If there's like friction points, and this is a really good one for you to do, because Feng Shui is like an iceberg. Like, so basically at the very tip of the iceberg is the stuff that I would have done to call in Ken in my apartment and done all this like basic fun little knitting and little things around the space. But fundamentally it's acupuncture for your home. And that's what we did when we did our masters and when we work with our clients. Like, it's like specific things at specific areas that are balancing points. They're the needles that balance the energy. So there's a big scope between there, like of things you can do. And so the first is like moving around your house and identifying any friction points. So what do I mean by friction points? I'm like doors jamming, squeaking, things that are broken or not working, like just stuff that you just like, oh, I'm just making do with that. Oh, I don't actually like it. The amount of people and homes I've been in, and I'm like, tell me about this painting. Oh, I don't like it. Oh, my brother gave it to me as a present. I don't even get on with him. Like these things that you have in your space that are changing your energy, because like everything in your home has an energetic frequency. And I've got like so much fresh stuff in my head because of the book at the moment. And one of them was like, one of our clients in her prosperity area found a cushion that said F off. Now it said the full words F off. She didn't even like, that is so unconscious. Like, nobody realizes that you have that in your prosperity area, like money blocks maybe. Those crazy welcome mats that say never mind the kids, like, or never mind the dogs, it's the kids. What are you putting out there? Like, what are you saying? And like we can be laughing, but I've seen them all. Like, I've seen it all, and it can be this kind of cynical, jokey stuff, but you're like, okay, but there's something there. There's something there. So walking around, anything that's broken, anything that's not working, any of those friction points that are just like, oh, that drives me crazy. Now, Feng Shui is not about having the perfect house. Okay. This is really important. It's not about perfection. I've done plenty of like multi-million-dollar interior designed homes that are terrible Feng Shui. And people often ask me like, well, my house is really like cluttered or whatever. They're like, oh my God, there's just so much stuff in my house. Like, you'll never be able to Feng Shui it. And I'm like, yes, I will. Because it's not about the stuff in your house. That is definitely going to be blocking some of the chi. But some of the most, as I said, most perfectly beautiful houses can be about Feng Shui. And I'll ask people like, how do you know my house is bad? How do I know if my house is bad Feng Shui? I'm like, what's going on in your life? How's your bank account? How's your relationships? How's your business? Like, if things are going great, it's a sign that the house has good energy. It can always get better. But if things are like not like money's flowing in and disappearing as quick as you make it, or you're just like, or there's certain things that are just not moving in your life, it's definitely time for a little look at like, oh my God, maybe it's maybe it's my house. Ken was 6 months working for a company that didn't pay him. Like, it wasn't him, but the house was in a lock, so it just like froze it. He was still doing the work, so there's so many layers to this process. But in the beginning, it's like the name of this exercise is called Fresh Eyes. And I get my clients to do it over and over and over again, because every time you do it, you see something different. So imagine it's your first time walking into your home. Imagine you're just like arriving there, and I want you to just look at everything and be like, even kind of that Marie Kondo, does it spark joy? But like, less than does it spark joy, it's like, how do I feel about this? Does this line up where I want to go in my life? So this is how the integrating of the manifestation for me comes in, is because you can make your home a vision board for your future, or it can remain a shrine to your past. And you're like holding on to all of the stuff from the past that is like literally just pulling you back.
I love that. I love that, making your home a vision board. And what that reminded me of is, when you were talking about, appreciating the home that you have. When I was in that first home that I wrote my first book in, which was my first home in Santa Monica when I moved from New York here, I loved it so much, even though it was not like compared to the house I live in now, it was very small, but it was so special to me. And one of the things I remember, I got to a point where I could tell that I was like energetically outgrowing it, but I hadn't figured out like what the next thing was. And I also was like, I just have a feeling I'm going to be here until I meet my husband. So I love this place. Why would I move. So I was in this place of contemplating, should I move? And I remember that exactly what you did. I kind of like looked around my home and I was like, it doesn't match me anymore. But it wasn't so much the apartment itself that was inherently wrong, because the apartment is just white walls and a kitchen and a bathroom, right? It was that I really I had to redecorate it, because the way that I had decorated it was like a former vision board, right? It was a former version. And so even in that space, for those of you guys who are not living in your amazing house yet, or your dream spot, it's like taking this place that you have and looking at the furniture and looking at the different items you have and saying, does this still resonate with me? Right? Maybe it did when you picked it out, or like you said, maybe you haphazardly inherit. Like when I hear and I understand why some people do it. I did it in college for sure. But, you know, when people just inherit like random furniture from different people, right? Like to me, that energy is very, unless you're like, oh, I love Aunt Sally's amazing couch, and please get Aunt Sally's amazing couch. But, you know, if it feels, I love that. So much of it you can do just by tuning into your own energy and how does it feel? And what are, so you're, I love that. That Feng Shui is acupuncture for your home. So what are there like, what is there, like a money spot, a work spot, a love spot? Is that kind of how it works, or?
Yeah. So, rewinding just a tiny bit back. So yeah, in terms of Feng Shui, there is different schools of Feng Shui before I go into the work spots, because then it can get a bit complex as people are like, oh my God. So there's different schools of Feng Shui. And the school that I practice is aligned with the Compass School of Feng Shui. And it's called Flying Stars, traditional flying stars. So we will do calculations based on your home. And if we think about acupuncture for your home, and if myself and yourself went to the acupuncturist and we both said exactly the same things, I've also like talked to acupuncture about this as well, and we said with the exact same things, they would probably treat us, and most probably could treat us totally different, because of our skin, because of our tongue, because of our eyes. Even if we're like, this is my ailments, they may treat you totally differently and put the needles in a different point, and it's based on our age, our year, all of that. So it's the same with Feng Shui. There's different schools, and the school that we practice is that every house is unique. It has its own specific energetic blueprint. It is not a cookie cutter type of practice. So if you go online and you know, I'm just like, come find my YouTube channel and do all that stuff. If you start Googling stuff, you'll get a lot of conflicting information. So when it was brought from the east to the west, there was a Western school developed, which is like, stand at your front door, and over in this area is your health area, and over in that area is your career area, and over that area. But that doesn't take into consideration that every house is different and every location is different. So it's not, that's a very, and you know, there's some people who love it and they do it and they teach it, and that's totally cool. I've seen a lot of people come into my world and see like amazing results because they've shifted from that school. They're like, well, I've been doing that for years, but I haven't seen so much happen. So I'm like, yeah, because we need to get your bespoke personal report and balance it. So in terms of that, there's different schools, and the school that we practice is very bespoke. So every area of your home does represent a part of your life. And when we do it with Feng Shui, it's just like, it's again back to that acupuncture analogy. Your body, like your heart has a function, your lungs have a function, your eyes, like, and everything's doing its job. And if one part isn't doing so well, like another kind of organ or whatever will pick up the slack, but it'll eventually, if it's not in balance and harmony, it's going to like not work. It's not a good, not good. And essentially that's what we're trying to do at the home, is that every area has some energetic connection to your life. So if it's flowing good, if it's a happy energy, which is beyond your control, like it is literally based on where the house is located, the compass direction, the year it's built, the size, the shape. There's a lot of permutations to that. So it's not about like, oh my God, I have to run out and find my areas now. It's much more about getting a kind of a general. For me, it's something like this, I could go into all those areas, but it gets really confusing. So if there's a specific one that you want me to talk about, I'm happy to do that. But there is 9 areas, and they look at health, career, fame and reputation, how you shine your light in the world, your money and prosperity, your family and community, so connections, your relationships, like calling in a relationship. There's also helpful people and travel, supportive part of your life. And there's your wisdom and knowledge, spirituality area. So just like for
yeah, I think for my listeners, they'll probably be most curious around money and career.
Okay, cool. So for money, the money area is the southeast part of your home, and don't overthink this. Okay, it's the general area. If I have a client, I will be mapping out and getting the exact area and figuring it out exactly. But for you, as you're listening, just be like, I wonder where the southeast area is. I know it's over where my fridge is. Am I worried that my prosperity is terrible because it's where my fridge is or where my sink is? No, it doesn't matter whether it's the bathroom, the living room, the kitchen, the dining room. This is one really big thing to realize, or the garage. Like the most important thing is that every part of your home does have an area that's represented. If it's a place that you can go now and have a look and declutter, good idea, do a bit of a clear out. And if there's something that you could bring into that area intentionally that represents what it is that you want to call into your life, you could do that. You could write some intentions about prosperity and put them into the southeast area. Most of all, like for me, especially when this kind of more surface, is just going and kind of figuring, be like, oh my God, this area represents it's like awareness. Wow, I'm going to get rid of like the broken furniture over there. I'm going to get rid of anything that's not working there. I'm going to make sure I keep it clean and organized. So for one client, she didn't have a job. She was unemployed and her prosperity area was her bathroom. She kind of panicked. I was like, don't worry, it's okay. We're going to balance it. But in the meantime, she was like, okay, I'm going to make my bathroom so luxurious. So she got new towels, she got lovely flowers, she got really nice soap, like she pimped it up. So she's like, here I am in my 5-star bathroom, and she got a new job, so like that is, it's just like these energies, like we can just not, like for me it's like, don't overthink it, don't sweat it. And then for the career area is the north part of your home. Again, it could be your toilet. Doesn't mean your toilet, your career is going down the toilet. It does not mean that. Your toilet has to go somewhere, so it's okay. What would be most important is just, again, just like I said about the bathroom, like pimp it up a bit. Like, how could you do that? And then in your career, like write some intentions. Maybe there's a company that you want to work for. Maybe there's a business that, like, write your business mission, get clear on it, clear out that space. For me, mostly this, especially when you're getting started, is just like taking like a broad sweep of your space and starting to really think about and tune into the energy of things. When we look at things, for example, you might go in and be like, oh my God, my prosperity area is my kitchen and I hate my kitchen. It's really old cabinets. It's this. Like the old cabinets are not bad feng shui. If they are practical and working, that's great. If the handles are falling off them, I would certainly be getting them fixed, because if handles mean a grip on your finances, a grip on life. If it's your prosperity area and the handles are not there, you've not got a grip on your finances, it's not a good. So it's like a lot of things are quite symbolic around your space. If you're into deities, for example, like your prosperity area, you could get a little picture of Lakshmi or Fortuna, so it's like a little bit of like what would feel good for you as well on this like surface. So maybe some people love those little, like some people are like, I got a money plant. I'm like, amazing. Do you love it? Like, are you gonna look after it? For me, it's very much like your house shouldn't look very different. Your life should feel different, and your home should feel different. You could sleep better, you get on with your partner better, your children are happier, more money, more flow. Like that's essentially what our aim is with feng shui. And it's not about hanging like weird frogs, like people, if you do have a frog that you love that has coins, gold coins that you got in Chinatown, or I said this in a podcast once, and I was like, it doesn't matter if you have frogs, you don't need them. I don't have any lucky frogs in my house. I wouldn't, they're not my thing. But one was like, oh my God, my husband has one and he loves it so much, and he got it in China, in Hong Kong, and after he bought it, he got a new job, so he always just associates it with luck. And I'm like, brilliant. Oh my God, keep it. Get him to rub it and see it and be like, so it's like creating anchors for you around your home that like are like that anchor is really important for me.
I love that. I love that because you could even go through your home and I mean, just like going back to what you were saying is like your home is a vision board. And like one of the activities that I've had, like um, in one of my programs, I call it like, I can't even remember what the name of the module is right now, but it's essentially like a home clearing, right? Before we get started on like manifesting, it's kind of going through and asking yourself, okay, is this aligned with what I'm manifesting? Is this how it feels? And so it seems like even if you didn't know specifically exactly what was going on in each area, if you went into each area and asked yourself, okay, does this feel good? Does this, if in general you're wanting to manifest more abundance or you're wanting to manifest, career things going or even love, it would be, okay, I remember one of the things before I called in my husband, I went in through my bedroom in my apartment and was like, is this the apartment that my husband is coming into? Right? Like, is this the apartment that, if I have a really amazing date, I can invite someone up for a cup of tea without having to like be in my head about like, did I clean this up? Did I move that? Is that okay? And I think that that's just such a good reminder with the feng shui of like, our home is also broadcasting to us every day as we like live in it and we see things. And even having, like your client that had like, kind of zhuzhed up her bathroom area. It's like, great. The bathroom I think is like, I love bathrooms because bathrooms are, I think, a really easy area to do that with and have a lot of fun. Like get a really nice like hand soap that feels like luxurious, have like a candle or some nice towels. And it's not that expensive for you to make that a very luxurious experience and like tap into that energy every time you wash your hands or you put on your makeup in the morning or whatever it is.
Totally. And it's like preparing your space for what it is that you want. So just like you said, is this the place where the guy to come in? Like the apartment in Dublin that I had, I was just like, this is ready for someone. Like if anyone came in here and my bedroom was just, I really became very obsessed with having an immaculate bedroom, like and having things ready for someone. Like it was ready. There was spare hangers. There was like empty space in my wardrobes. I had space. I slept on my side of the bed, I got like, so my dad came up to help me move and I said, oh, can you bring me to IKEA? So he like lives on the other side of the country. It's not that far in Ireland. Anyway, it's like 2.5 hours, but it is still a drive. He came up and I brought me to IKEA. We did a big shop and I bought like all these like different things for my part, 2 lamps and just little things like to just zhuzh up my apartment for living there. And after like a few days, I was like, oh, I can't believe it. So I had bought a rug for my bedroom, but I hadn't one on the other side, just had one. And I was like, who's going to get it? Is it me or him? Like I want the rug for me, but then I'm leaving imbalance. Like, so, because I went to the extreme of it. And I rang my dad about a few days later and I was like, hey dad, I need to go to IKEA again. Can you come up? So he came back up, brought me to IKEA. And I bought like a rug and like a tea towel. And he was like, what? Like, cause he thought I wanted like furniture or something. He was like, that's all you're buying? And I was like, I need to balance it. It's for my future husband.
This is a critical rug, Dad.
This is a critical rug. But actually and that was like, one of the things, especially say, for example, like in that bed in my sister's old bedroom, when you walked into that apartment, into her bedroom, you opened the door and the first thing you saw was like a full-length mirror, which interestingly enough my dad had put up like 10 years earlier, and like a mirror at that door, and you open up the energy and you open up the door, the mirror reflects the energy back out. So basically her bedroom was repelling everything out. And the first thing I did was like
Dad's unconscious secret plan.
He's not a feng shui master at all. But I put like a little curtain up, and I actually got him to put it up to cover it because I was like, I need to cover this mirror. He's like, what's wrong with this good mirror? I put this mirror, and I was like, there's nothing wrong with the mirror. It is just that I am ready for love, and that is not going to help me. So again, when you open up your front door, the same thing. You wouldn't want a mirror facing the front door. When you open it, it's going to repel and push up the energy back out. So there's like subtle nuances around your space that you can really just take action on and have like fun. I think that's one of the most important things, is that like you can like take this super seriously and be like, oh my God, my house is this, or, you know, but for me, it's like, just start to build a positive relationship with it. Start to be really looking at things. You know, it's so subtle what people have in their homes, like especially like artwork. I just think about one lady who joined my program, and she was in the program, I think like a couple of weeks, when we were working on bedrooms, and she'd been single for like 12 years, like literally since she moved into the apartment. And when she was doing the review of the apartment, she said, and I'll never forget the post, it was like, I've been going out and saying to my friends, like, do I have mistress written across my forehead? Why am I only attracting married men? Like, why? I'm like, I'm married, I'm a magnet. Like, what is it? So in her bedroom, for the whole time, she had this huge picture, like portrait of a woman. And not just any woman, like a single woman, but it was a woman, it was like a picture by Van Gogh that he painted of his mistress. Like I
Wow.
have so many like incredulously crazy stories about people's artwork on their walls that is like a direct like mirror of what's happening in their lives, what they're talking about, and how they're stuck. And when you start to look deeper and be like, oh, you know, tell me about that painting. Oh, actually, my ex-husband gave it to me. I was like, okay. So
Okay, so that has one strike against
out.
it.
Like, do you want to call it love? Like, what is it? You know, so there's like so many, and or I don't even like this person, I don't even like them, I don't, I'm just keeping it because of this, or you know, so there's a lot, there's like a lot that you can start to even just have fun with.
So what? So I just, first of all, I love that. I feel like I heard something. I think a friend told me this once, that he had a friend that was, who also, he's my friend who told me this story is like a Reiki master. I don't know if he's as like in Feng Shui like classically as you, but he's aware of it. And he had a friend that was suffering from really depressive thoughts and was like really struggling with stuff. And so he was like, okay, I'm going to come over, like, I'm going to be with you tonight or whatnot, help you move through. Goes into his apartment and has like tons of pictures of pretty much like celebrities that killed themselves. Right. And he literally was like, and we're taking every single one of them off the walls. Like, you surrounded yourself with all these people that passed away when they were young. Or it was like, I get like shivers just thinking
I
about
have
it.
shivers on my whole body. I've shivered, and like the same with like weapons. And you know, I have clients who have like, you know, husbands who love hunting, and I'm like, we have to reframe the energy of like these dead animals on the walls. Not ideal.
Oh.
Or you know, people, like I've had clients whose husbands had like, you know, drink problems, and then once we start changing the energy, they just like stop, or they take down all the weapons that they have, like they're into like sword fighting or swords, and they're like all, and then they're aggressive, their behavior is aggressive, and they've like all these swords, so it's just like a mirror. So when we start to change the energy, it's like they start to change because they're feeling it, and they're like, oh, I don't need that anymore, you know. And I remember one of my clients, she was like, I cannot, she said, I never said a word about the swords. She never said a single word to him. She just said, she just kept doing her own thing, changing her own energy, changing the house, doing the balances, putting in her remedies, all the stuff. And then one day he came home and he's just like, I think I'm going to take these down and I'm going to put pictures. And he had like a racing car, and I'm going to put pictures of all of my racing cars up here on this wall. So basically replaced them with his passion project. And she was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Like, and I was like, I'm so happy. And like, it's just, it's so unconscious. And then when you start to change the energy, it starts to change everything.
Changes everything. So now, how do we take this? And let's say someone's listening. I know me and you I guess this would work as well for your home office, right?
Yeah.
So we have the blessing of like a home office, but also maybe for people that are listening that are working at like an office, if anybody's working in person these days, are there things that you can do if you have like a desk or a small office space to kind of feng shui that for your work experience?
For sure. And I think again, like go back to the very beginning, like fresh eyes. Like we did this. I was on a TV show in Fort Worth a few like years ago, and they asked me afterwards, like, come and look at our cubicles. So I came and looked at the cubicles, and I stood there, and I was like, well, what do you see? And one of them was like, oh my God, she had all these little toys and all these little, like, you know, like little trinkets and stuff. And she was like, it's like I don't really take my, and then she looked at someone, she's like, I don't really take my job very seriously. Like this is like all jokey, like kiddie, youthful. And it was like it completely landed. So it's just like, what are you surrounding yourself with on that desk? You know,
Yeah.
is it a nice fresh plant? Is it a picture of your family that like, why am I going to work every day? Like have the picture that you, a picture you love. Okay,
Yeah.
not just anything, like a picture that feels really great of like why you're doing it every day. Like take anything out of that space that's around you because it's in your energetic field, especially at your desk. About like negative things that like are people or places, or if you have to have them at your desk, like put them into black or blue folders because that's really cooling and dampening.
Mm.
Um, like you could also think about the little vision board thing. And I remember one of I did a cubicle for a lady, a writer in Mind Body Green. So I'm in the Mind Body Green
Yeah.
office, and I'm like underneath the like looking, and she's just like, oh my God, I have all of this stuff under the desk, like, and I'm like, this is like stuff under, same under your bed, underneath is like, it's like it's on how do you, I'm just trying to think of the word for it. It's like unexplored. So it's kind of something can be like some things are like unlooked, like you know, they're pushed to the side, they're left to the side. So you're like really pushing them away. You don't want to look at it, and that can be like deeply associated mirror to like emotional things. So it's like emotional stuff that you're not wanting to look at, and you're trying to push aside. You're like, take it out, get rid of it, because it can create like anxiety and stress and all of that. So I was like, take all that away, and there was loads of like snack bars, you know, and I'm like, that is going to be so bad for your eating, you know, for healthy, like you know, we're in my greenhouse.
Yeah.
Like we want to be like health, like thinking healthy. She's like, oh my God, like some of these books haven't even read them, I'm not doing. So I'm having a lot of like stuff around you, especially like around you, like there's no space for creative thinking. So there's that idea of like creating some space for you for creativity, and having like that idea, like especially with an office, you want to come in, you're going to spend a lot of time there, so like make sure you have a good chair. Make, if you do have to sit with your back to the door, or like not in a, like not having supported wall behind you, because like you do, which is great, put a little mirror on your desk, so when you're sitting working you can see what's coming at you, just a tiny little mirror. And just again, like feng shui is all about movement and energy. So if you've just got like cupboards piled up with paperwork, just do a clear out. And then if you feel overwhelmed, like what does your desktop look like? Like literally you have a million icons. Clean it off. Like just even just a like me, easy one is just like select all, put them all into one folder, and then it can go after it later. But you feel this instance, oh my God, I have a million things on my mind. So there's like the whole you know, do a digital declutter, do your desk declutter, bring in something that makes you feel good. Like, so if there's like a place that you want to visit, like again, the place you want to visit, a thing that reminds you of why you're doing your work, and then have a just like, yeah, keep the energy moving in it.
Ah, I love that. That's so good. And I think especially, you know, whether you're working at home or you're going into an office, you know, if you spend so much time at your desk, like the way that your desk is set up, it really does. Like I notice that so much. The
For
last
sure, for
one of the
sure.
last things I want to ask you, you mentioned a little bit with your blue and the blue and black
Yeah.
folders, is how do colors impact us? And
Mm,
is it more so like in feng shui, are there certain colors that kind of do certain things?
mm.
And and then how do our preferences kind of dance into that?
So Great question. So essentially, when we work with feng shui, all of the elements of specific colors. So like fire element would be red, wood element would be brown and green. Earth will be still brown and earthy as well. And then you'd have like metallic silver, and metal element would be silvers, golds, all metallic pastels. Water element obviously is blue or black. So for me, there's just like there's a general guidance for me with especially during decorating your house is like you do not want excess red or fire element because it can mean burnout, aggression, anger, all of that. If you love red, it could be because there's another aspect of feng shui with our personal trigram. So there's colors that are the best colors for us, like personally based on when we were born, and our best directions. So it could be because you're just naturally lean towards that. Like, so I had like a lot of pink and reds, and I love fiery colors, but I will kind of keep them to minimum, not too much, you know, I'm aware. But then, for example, like in a fire element place, so where you have the stove and the cooker, you would like try and like have no red there because you already have fire element. The same goes for the bathroom where there's a lot of water, like there's a lot of water in the bathroom. We don't want to put too much blue in the bathroom. Now, if you have a blue bathroom or a red kitchen, it's not the end of the world. This is really important. Like for years, our kitchen was red, a high gloss red kitchen. And I walk my talk. So ultimately we had to change it, but like changing a full high gloss kitchen is a big expense. So we had to get to a place where we're like, okay, now we can do it. So it's not like something you have to do this minute or you're doomed with feng shui. And the same goes for your blue bathroom. If you do have a bathroom that is blue, like bring some earth element in it. Like, so bring some stones, bring some creams and browns and that into it to kind of slow and like kind of dampen. So what would you do to stop water flowing? You make a dam, like, so you bring earth. So they're kind of the main things for me, especially color wise, that I'm like kind of big avoids. They do link to the elements. So when I'm doing someone's report for their home, I will be like in certain areas where we have to add, for example, metal element into your home, like the needle, like acupuncture needles into a home. I'd be like, well, avoid red because fire element is going to melt the metal. So, you know, so we don't, so there's a little dance with the elements and with colors, but most of the time for me, I would say just keep your home neutral and bring in the aspects of color that feel good to you, but not like OTT because it could be quite detrimental. And yeah, so that's my thing with the colors.
So I am someone that loves neutral colors. Everything in my home is pretty much like creams, beiges. The home itself, you can't see it because you're only with white wall, but has these kind of black window, like the black outline of the windows and the black outline of the doors and whatnot. So it naturally adds a little bit of black. But do you think that that's too, like, that's just my aesthetic preference, right? But do you think that's too, like, I don't like blue or red, or I don't really like a lot of color.
Yeah, and then this is the thing, like when we would be working, and this is, you know, it's your personal preference. Like for me, if I'd be working with a client who needs to bring that into their home, like bring some of those elements in, it's only in a specific area, and we're like trying to integrate it in the way that it would suit best. So it's not like there's anything wrong with your home as it is. Like I think neutral is amazing. Like our entire house here is very, very neutral, except where I need to add some specific colors. So for example, on the wall, I have a piece of art that has lots of different red in it because I need to have fire element in this area. If you walked in and people don't know that that's my feng shui there in the corner, just like doing its business. So you can just, it's like about subtly introducing it, and it's very specific. So yeah, it doesn't sound like it's not bad, like at all, you know. Where I would be more concerned is if you were like, oh my God, I have all these, like my whole bedroom is painted like completely fuchsia pink, and my living room is all like bright orange. And like the thing is, I personally would kind of love that in my house, and if I could get away with it, I possibly would have it. But I just know that it's not going to be good for me, for my relationship, for my health, unless that area requires fire element. And even then, I never say like paint anything like to clients. I'm like, no, it changes. The cycles change, like the energy changes every year. So you just start to, you know, build different relationships with the colors. The elements.
I think that's, you know, one of the things I did when I was living by myself in that apartment is I would paint my bedroom was primarily like, it was like my comforter was white and all that, and I had these like gold nightstands with white marble, and I had another white dresser, and so I would paint the walls. Like at one point it was like a Tiffany like turquoise blue, and then another point it was like a peach, like, and it was just such a fun random experiment, like things you can totally pull off when you're living by yourself.
Yeah.
And um just such an interesting study on like how, you know, how shifting different things in your home can change things. Because even when I was telling you about before, when I had that like check in with myself and shifted some stuff, my original aesthetic was, I had a lot of turquoise. It was like white, turquoise, and gold. And then it just stopped resonating. And that's kind of when like the neutral era began. And I felt the call, just again, so funny now to like kind of connect the dots. I felt
Yeah.
the call to bring in more wood. I felt the call to bring in more plants, right? I felt the call to kind of like, and the home felt way more grounded
Yeah.
actually, once I shifted from probably what was way water element to more of like earth. But
Yeah.
so cool, so
Yeah.
cool. So thank you so much for being with us. This is
You're so
so
welcome.
exciting. Is there any last little nugget you want to give people to send
Um,
off? And then, of course, tell them where to find you and find more.
I would say to you, like, the first thing to do is just like say thank you home, like just thank you, thank you, thank you, and just starting to dive into appreciation of it and know that it all just starts at home. Like anything you want to change, you can start with your home, and then it will change your life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ah, I love it. I
Yay!
love it. So, where can people find out more from you, Patricia?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can come find me at patricialohan.com, Powerhouse Feng Shui podcast, Patricia Lohan on YouTube and on Instagram, Powerhouse Feng Shui. We've got like amazing episodes about all different themes on the podcast and on YouTube, but you can find them all on my website at Patricia Lohan and some downloads. I also have a free Feng Shui course that's like Feng Shui 101, telling you the truths that Feng Shui experts never tell you. And that's available at patricialohan.com.
Oh, wonderful. We'll put links to everything below so you guys can grab that. And thanks so much for hanging out with us today, Patricia.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much for listening to Divine Downloads. If you'd like to help support the show, please share this episode with someone who you think would love it. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review so that other listeners can find the podcast. Thanks again for being a loyal listener.